Okay, we are now live streaming. Mr. Kugo, the floor is yours, sir.
Commodore, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And before we get into the awards, I'll just again, it's nice to be here with everybody. It's nice to be here with you and the folks that represent the Ninth Western Region. Always good. I'm sorry that we couldn't get together face to face. As we had to put it before eloquently, it's not a COVID thing, right? Although it's kind of like a COVID thing. It feels, reminiscent of what we had gone through a few years back. But hopefully that this will be the last time that something like this has to occur for us. So I have a couple awards here, and I did want to give a big shout out to your DSOIS, Pam Jarger, who is fabulous. Been working with her now for, God, what feels like an eternity, but I know it's only been maybe a year or so. We just seem to click a lot, and she's always constantly learning and teaching me new and different stuff in Aux Data too. And I really want to give a shout out and let you know and let her know that I appreciate and value her contribution to the DIROC's office and to Ninth Western and what she does. And that also goes the same for your DSO HR, Mr. Carlson, Ron Carlson, who does a fabulous job. I hear his conversations with Jerry, and it's always delightful to kind of get his input, get his help, and I'm able to reach out to him and Jerry and get things done for everybody at an administrative take. And I appreciate that very much. It definitely helps our office run smoother. It improves my relationship with Jerry in the office. And I think it improves my relationship overall with the members of Ninth Western. So I take homage in saying thank you, and it's much appreciated. Okay, so some big awards. I have two here. I have a list of names for the Christmas tree event, and some members of Division 31, some division members of 35, 37, 39, 41, and one member of Central Region. I'd like to go through Division 31, Matthew Thompson, Division 35, Kevin Salmon, Elizabeth Hidalgo, Bradley Couch, Christopher Stallman, John Sarin, Phil Leonard, Don Leonard, Avia Marcello, James Cummings, Jonathan Small, Tyler Kroll, Reader Casper, Ruben Barrett, Michael Haley, Tom Malawi, Jennifer Angon, Sally Stelnicki, Josh Zajac, Shelley Markle, Gary Markle, Mike Paragus, Justin Spencer, Jeff Bailey, Eileen Wisakis. From Division 7, Tim Hudson, Josh Hutchin, Ron Shell, Christine Anderson, Brian Crosta, Al Mitchell, Paul Richardson. From Division 39, Mike Jones, Robert Rezek, Chris McElfee, Jay Katzman, Tim Dari, Bridget Dari, Richard Pato, Howard Rubin. From Division 41, Al Goldbach, Ryan McGraw, and from 091 Central Region, Division 18, John Rose. Apologize if anybody was missed on that, but I believe we've got everybody. And the award, I'm not going to ask for any attention to any of these awards, being that we're doing it virtually. So, the Commandant of the United States Coast Guard takes pleasure in presenting the Coast Guard Meritorious Team Commendation to United States Coast Guard Cutter Mackinac, WLBB 30, for service as set forth in the following. Citation: for exceptional meritorious service from November 2022 to December 2022, while planning and executing Coast Guard Cutter Mackinac's lead role in the 23rd Annual Christmas Tree Ship Event. continuing a tradition started over 100 years ago by ship captain Herman Sheshman and the sailing vessel Rouse Simmons. The Christmas tree ship team, consisting of active duty, reserve, and auxiliary personnel from 12 different units, expertly coordinated the receipt and delivery of 1,200 donated Christmas trees destined for the city of Chicago for use in the highly celebrated public affairs, humanitarian, and recruiting event. Projecting a positive image of the Coast Guard, the team worked with local charitable organizations to provide trees to over 1,000 families in need while simultaneously contending with an unusual high-paced seasonal aids to navigation operation. Leveraging meticulous attention to detail and recognizing the importance of a well-executed event, the team implemented the best practices of operational planning to prepare a one-of-a-kind incident action plan, defining logistics and action items in advance of the 4-day event. Upon completing the safe and efficient 400 nautical mile transit from Sheboygan, Michigan to Chicago, Illinois, to act as the centerpiece for a public festivities in the heart of downtown, the team hosted over 500 members of the public, including 207 school-aged children and several congressional and local government delegations, providing an orientation to Coast Guard missions and the people who served aboard the Coast Guard cutter Mackinac. The team led tours, prepared meals, delighted with carols, and otherwise introduced individuals around the globe to the United States Coast Guard, showcasing the service's unique capabilities to an audience of over 213,000 people across several social media platforms and news outlets. The team's overwhelming, enthusiastic reception, acknowledgement from public leaders, the media, and community members is a testament to the diligent effort and expert accomplishment of its missions. The dedication, pride, and professionalism displayed by the 2022 Christmas Tree Ship team reflect credit on individual members, their team, and the United States Coast Guard. The operational distinguishing device is authorized, signed for the Commandant, Jonathan P. Hickey, Rear Admiral, United States Coast Guard, Commander, 9th Coast Guard District. Nice job, everyone. That was fantastic. Is everybody with me?
You loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
All right, fantastic. I get nervous because I didn't put the camera on. It's just a blank screen. So I would have hated to have read all of that and then somebody come back and say, can you, sorry, we didn't catch that.
It wasn't in vain.
That's perfect. Perfect. Well, that's a congratulatory right there. That's a nice award. The Christmas Tree Ship is always a fantastic event. Okay, and we have one more award here. And this award is for Mr. Paul J. Pagano, United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. From Commandant to Paul J. Pagano, United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. Subject, Auxiliary Commandant Letter of Commendation. I note with pride, and I'm pleased to commend you for your performance of duty while serving as the Vice Flotilla Commander for Flotilla 3301, South Haven, Michigan, from January of 2021 to December of 2022. During your tenure, you demonstrated exceptional leadership and devotion by strengthening the flotilla's strategic partners in local region and placing an emphasis on member fellowship and recognition. You encouraged members to build partnerships with the City of South Haven, Michigan, the Maritime Museum, South Haven Fire Department, and the Gull Lake Marina. These relationships provided new and additional venues for Flotilla 3301 to educate the public on marine safety and present the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Auxiliary in a positive light, enhancing recruiting opportunities. Understanding the need for recognition, you coordinated with the city of South Haven to approve a memorial bench and plaque to remember those members who have volunteered and served before us. Commemorating the 50th anniversary of the South Haven Flotilla, your commitment to fellowship persisted in your efforts to create a new flotilla logo and display it on unit apparel and public displays. This generated unit morale and esprit de corps within the flotilla. As the excitement created, it led to a contribution by all members to strive for excellence in diversity and member training, ultimately leading to the members of 3301 receiving the National Commodore's 3-Star Award for Diversity. In addition to your services as Vice Flotilla Commander, you were able to contribute a significant amount of time to the Coast Guard Auxiliary's core missions by completing more than 390 hours of support to the Coast Guard. You are commended for your outstanding performance of duty. By your meritorious service, you have upheld the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard and the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. You are hereby authorized to wear the Auxiliary Commandant's Letter of Commendation, Miniature Medal, and Ribbon Bar. Signed for the Commandant, Gregory T. Dahl, Commander, United States Coast Guard, Director of Auxiliary, 9th District. Fantastic job. Okay, sir, I believe that is all I have, Commodore.
Thank you, Ralph, and definitely bravo Zulu to all the awardees. There are several awards that are still being finalized from various locations, and the plan for those is to be presented at the respective division changes of watch. So keep submitting the awards, recommendations, and I'll make sure to get them approved as expeditiously as possible.
Yes, Commodore, by the way, too, thank you to you and to John Saran, who put a majority of these awards, if not all of these awards together and sent them to our office. We truly appreciate it. When you said several, that's an understatement. There's quite a few floating around out there. So we look forward to getting those out to you and working with the sector to get that done. So thank you all very much. We appreciate what you do for your members and for helping us get those out.
Thank you. Moving to our business section. Mr. Barker, if you can recall the roll, please.
Yes, no problem. So we'll do this the expedited way. Commodore Thatch,
Present.
Tim Derry,
Present.
Commodore Randall,
Present.
John Saran,
Present.
Craig Feldy,
Present.
Russell Hoganson,
Present.
Commander Dahl,
Present.
Rick Hamilton,
Present.
Jen Austin,
Present.
Joshua Sajak,
Here.
Terry Peggy, Terry, you still here?
Present.
Thank you. Bridget Derry, Bridget, are you still here?
Present.
Thank you. Ryan McGraw,
Present.
John McDonald,
Present.
and Greg Bergner.
Present.
All right, 15 remain present.
Thank you. And Ms. Parks, can you confirm the presence of a quorum?
I will attest to the quorum.
Thank you. Next up on the order of business is acceptance of the prior board minutes. So those have been posted. Willing to entertain a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Chief of Staff. Is there a second?
I second that, Commodore.
Okay, seconded by Division 41. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Or abstentions? Hearing none, the ayes have it. The meeting minutes are approved and adopted. Next order of business will be elections for 2024 terms of office for our three area district captains for East, South, and West. At this point, I will turn it over to Commodore Randall as our chair for the screening committee.
Thank you, Commodore. Representing the screening committee, we did process a number of letters of intent. They were received on time, and the final report of the screening committee was issued on September the 6th, I believe, to the entire board. And we have vetted these candidates. They all were found to be eligible for their respective offices. So the three candidates, we received one candidate for each of the three open offices. District Captain East was John Saran, District Captain South, Craig Feldy, and District Captain West, Russell Hoganson. We have attested to their eligibility to serve, and that has been documented in our final report. That's all we have.
Thank you, Commodore, and I thank you and the other members of the committee, division commanders Peggy and Derry for their service. And I stand the committee down. So as this meeting is, as this election is being done electronically, the elections standard operating procedures is in effect. Nominations from the floor are not permitted. Therefore, I will, as I am not a candidate for the district captain office, I will remain as the presiding officer for the elections. So at this time, I would put forward John Saran as the nominee for district captain East for the term of 2024. And we'll ask for a unanimous ballot, considering that there are no contested elections for this position. So I look for a unanimous ballot, someone to move that to affirm Mr. Saran for 2024 district captain.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second Commodore Josh Zajac.
Okay.
Sonny, Commodore, it doesn't have to be from someone that can vote for this DCAP East. I appreciate Craig sentiments.
Yeah, so, okay.
Commodore
so,
Jen
yeah,
Austin, D33.
Thank you. Thank you. So we will have it reflect that Mr. Zajac made the motion, seconded by Ms. Austin.
Commodore, may I interject just one point of information here?
Yes.
The SOP actually requires for a single vote, not necessarily a motion or a second, but a single vote to be cast on behalf of the sole candidate for the office. And because the office is not contested, in other words, there are not multiple candidates running for that office, that's all it really requires is a single vote from any eligible voting board member.
Yeah, I believe in past we've traditionally had that be the like the Secretary of Records captures the vote. I don't remember exactly how we do that, but that is right. It can just be one vote cast.
Right. The problem with
Yes.
the secretary is really not a board member. The voting board members, for example, for area East, would be yourself, and the other two division commanders plus the XCOM. So anybody from that population can cast that single vote. And then when you move to the south, it's those three division commanders plus the XCOM. And when you move to area west, it's those two division commanders plus the XCOM. Those are the eligible voters, and any single vote is all it takes to elect that candidate.
Best of three, paper, rock, scissors, gentlemen.
Well,
Ladies first.
I will cast the vote on behalf of John Saran then. Thank you. Jen Austin, Division 33 representative.
thank you. I think that is sufficient. There are, I assume, no objections to that. So I am pleased to announce John Saran as the district captain for 2024 for Area East. Congratulations.
Thanks for stepping up again, John.
Thank you both, and thank you all.
And so for District Captain South, we have, I'm placing into nomination Craig Feldy. So again, is there one of the voting members for this office prepared to cast that single ballot?
I will cast a single ballot, Commodore, for Craig Feldy, DCAP South.
Made by Division 37. Hearing no objections, that ballot is valid. And I'd like to congratulate Craig Feldy for another year as District Captain South.
Thank you, Commodore and board.
Okay, moving along, placing into nomination for District Captain West, Russell Hoganson.
I would like, I'll move for the election of Russ Hoganson.
All right, made by John McDonald, Division 43. Hearing no objections, that ballot is hereby cast and accepted. Congratulations, Mr. Hoganson, for another year of service.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Yeah. No, if only all elections were this easy, right? Okay, moving, so that concludes.
I have a hat nearby just in case Russ and I need it again.
Yeah. Next year might be a little bit more interesting.
I was gonna say, to that end, do we want to talk about reform processes, or is it too soon?
We can maybe discuss that in new business.
Roger.
Moving on to finance report. Do we have DSO Nitz online?
I am here. Thank you. So with the our net income so far this year is $10,242.20. Our balances as of September 19th, when I submitted these reports, were checking and saving
We're having pretty bad audio from you. Could you repeat that last?
Sure. Thank you. I'll begin over. Our net profit so far this year, our income is $10,242. Was that clear?
Crystal.
Oh, good. Good. So I have to phone in. You know, we have two CDs of one called the dedicated account, which holds $23,540.61. Another CD called the restricted account, holding $74,147. $32,150.78. And the Anderson Trust Fund, $72,665.22. We have trailers and some conference assets. The report lists $306 in payables. That was quarterly dues, which has since been paid. And our total liabilities and equity is a positive $205,000, $564.40. Would there be any questions?
Any questions for Todd?
Just one on the Anderson Fund Trust Fund other, $868.29. Clarification.
I will have to respond. I'm in my cabin and they don't have the company file open. I apologize. I'll send that to the board.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, and the finance report is, of course, posted on the OneDrive for further review from our members. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Nitz, for that report. Going to any updates to written officer reports. And I actually have one of my own. I received this morning from Commander Jerry Vanderkraal, who is the District 9 Staff Judge Advocate, the signed Auxiliary Legal Assistance Program instruction from Admiral Hickey. So this was an initiative that I wanted to start after meeting with Sector and hearing the challenges in our active duty shipmates receiving legal services. So of course, as I like to say, the job that pays, I am an attorney. So that's something that resonated personally with me. I wanted to see how we could essentially step up and support that mission for the active duty. So I had an opportunity to speak with Commander Kraal in person in Cleveland for senior leaders meeting where we discuss, kind of getting this program off the ground, and is now effective for the entirety of District 9, so all 3 auxiliary regions. And essentially, this standardizes auxiliary members who are lawyers, paralegals, and law clerks to essentially assist in brief services and in-person client services for active duty retired as well as their dependents. Some of the common services that will be done in this program will be drafting wills and powers of attorney, assisting with landlord-tenant issues and domestic relation disputes, notary services, and the like. So at this point, the next steps will be for our members who are in the legal profession and are interested in learning more of this to essentially identify themselves, send their names up through the respective chain of leadership to me and to Dean Christie, our district legal officer. And we'll work with Cleveland on an initial orientation that will be conducted by the D9 legal office that can be either in person or remotely done, and essentially will result in legal staff that are accepted into the program receiving a letter of designation that will allow them to effectively be assigned to duty to provide legal services at the behest of our active duty commands. So more information about that will be forthcoming as the program rolls out, but that has been assigned effective today by Admiral Hickey. Are there any other officers wishing to update their written reports?
This is Scott Gensmer, DSOCS. Yeah, I've got one quick update. All the Zoom links and information for the virtual sessions for tomorrow are all online. One note, Bob tells me that the PE topics session will not happen. There's a last minute conflict there. And the risk management session will be moved to a different date. Other than that, all the information and Zoom links are in the schedule matrix and the description online. And a big thank you to Jen Austin, who couldn't have done it without her help. So thank you for that. And that's all I have. You're muted, Commodore.
Thank you. You would think after 3, almost 4 years of this. Brian, did you have an update?
You're really broken, Brian.
NS. Okay, how about now?
Better.
Okay, I have one addendum. Just in the last week, I did receive another information about the Payton and the system that is going into effect. I want to reiterate, especially about what the captain and the commander said about the new program in NS. And I hope everybody takes a quick look at it. This is something that's very important to all of us. So that there's one new addendum. I did send it out to all my ADSOs. I think I sent it out to the rest of the people so they could disseminate it to everybody. So there is one, there's a lot of information that's coming down the pipe about the navigation systems. That's all.
Thank you, Brian. Any further updates? Okay. Hearing none, I will move to old business, which is one item, the D-Train Location Committee.
Commodore, if I could interrupt real quick, I think John Saran put in the chat that he had some updates to his elected board.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I didn't see that. Go ahead, John.
Sorry, I was confused if it was staff and then going to elected. I know we talked about the award for this year's Christmas, for last year's Christmas tree ship. We already are well into the planning for this year's Christmas tree ship event. We've been folks from D35 have been on the committee engaging with the organization, with the reserve, with MSU, with the Mackinac. Signups went out today. If you haven't yet received that, please let me know. We usually get participation from 4 or 5 divisions. And so this is truly a district event. Everyone is welcome. I have put in a request to the cutter about uniforms and also just to get some, further refinement on, specific shifts and other details that we'll need as we get closer. But, it's the same weekend every single year. Folks, should circle it. be prepared to support. We're going to do our traditional missions. I know Rita Casper will be the point of contact for the culinary assistance. And we'll have our typical, tree support, ship tours, public affairs and whatnot. So I hope to see you all out there. And I'm just looking forward to just all the divisions working together on this.
Thank you, John.
Commodore, this is Todd Metz jumping in. I apologize for not being able and prepared to answer the previous question. I'd like to do that now if I could.
Sure.
Thank you. Anderson Fund other income is interest generated by the fund in a year and unused interest from previous years. And it was decided by leadership that those would be our awards in successive years. So that 868.29 is what will be available for grants in the next year.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it.
Yeah, again, I apologize for not being prepared. I rushed in here after several meetings today to catch the thing, and it just caught me off guard.
Well, we got there before the end of the meeting, so still a fantastic job, Todd. Thank you. I see a hand, Craig.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell Brian, there were some bridge verifications done from 37 that were asked for by MSU Chicago. I will request Lieutenant Fortin to send those to you. Okay, Brian?
Okay. John McDonald.
So I have two things. One, my division commander report. I was typing it and revising it, and then I looked at the other reports and saw what Russ had submitted and basically went, oh, basically everything I'm writing is in Russ's report. So my division commander report is see above. As far as the D-Train committee, I know, I think it was Commander made a comment about Bob and I. I'd just like to echo some of that. Bob herding cats, trying to get all the MT changes and everything aligned, and then having to pivot and manipulate the schedule a bit to fit on a different schedule. Thanks to him. And then Jen and Scott do so much work with the website, the registration, and then pivoting now with all the Zoom links. So they've put in a lot of behind the scenes work, and then also to Todd for having to take in all the money and refund all the money. So double the amount of work that he typically does. So thank you to those people. Just wanted to make sure that credit was given across the board there.
Yeah, thank you, John, because we have the conference committee meets on a weekly basis on Mondays, and about 2 weeks ago we were having our meeting and thinking, okay, we're all set, everything is done now, all that's left is to just execute the event. Little did we know we'll be essentially planning another event in the course of a week and a half. So thank you to everyone on the staff for the quick pivot. Okay, moving again to old business, the D-Train location committee. So obviously this was discussed at our previous board meetings, the need to essentially look at the landscape for training venues outside of the Doubletree Lyle. We've had a pretty good relationship with them over the course of a number of years, but there have been some changes in hotel management and ownership, and some services just have not come back after COVID, and so it just necessitated us to make sure that we're still getting the best bang for our buck, and presenting the best options for training and fellowship to our members. I assembled a committee, stood up a committee that was chaired by Chief of Staff Derry to look into a number of venues and come up with recommendations. That report is posted to the OneDrive. It was sent via email last evening to the division commanders for your review. Essentially, I have taken all the considerations into account. I visited the 3 final locations that were discussed and have decided to move forward with the Q Center. So there is a call to receive the contracts that will be reviewed with our district legal officer and our conference chair. We will work to execute that. So at this time, I am standing down the committee, and I thank everyone that was on that committee for your dedicated work and service to the district. Is there any other business that should have been included that I did not include?
Commodore Jen Austin, Division 33. On the Q Center report, I just had a quick question because I was pivoting at the last second myself to even be representing our division here today, and then just was able to get that report. I saw a lot of descriptions on the services and everything, and you're talking about moving to the contract phase. Were there any reports that specifically laid out financially what the venue would cost? Like a final like ballpark estimate overall total? Because I wasn't necessarily seeing that in the report.
Yes, there was. I'm going to ask for a little assistance here from John McDonald and Tim Derry as our conference committee chair. John, you're the expert in terms of what the financial needs are for the D train.
Yeah, I threw together some initial numbers, and I think Tim was going to expand on that, but I don't recall if I saw it. It's a more expensive per room for us to use the facility, but the price difference in terms of the numbers of meals, well, cost of meals, cost of hotel rooms, is huge savings that way outweigh the initial cost of what we're going to pay for the room rentals. So there is a pretty significant savings for us to move there.
Correct. I mean, correct. I saw that in the report. I'm just saying, is there like $20,000 to put it on? 15,000? Like we normally have kind of a general idea of that to make sure it's financially viable. So I just wanted to know if that more specific financial information was in there, because the report did a good job of capturing their savings here and there, but just comparatively speaking, what are the overall financial optics looking like?
Sure, I just gotta figure out what I ever did with.
I can step in briefly, John, on this if you'd like.
Yeah.
If we were to compare apples to apples, a D train that would be attended by the same number of people that attended in March of 2023, the dollar amount from all three venues was within several $100s of each other. That dollar amount that was paid out, which is somewhere in the vicinity of $14,000, is not an accurate number, though, because a lot of that represents meals that are recovered from people who are either self-paying for their meals or who are under orders and getting reimbursed and paying for their meals. But it gave us an overall view of the actual check that would be written by the district and how it compared. To spread it out from there, even though they were all very close in price, was the amount of services that were provided by each venue. And so if you take the last year's bill from DoubleTree Lyle and what was provided, the Q Center matched all of that dollar for dollar and then provided several $1,000s more in value-added services. For instance, professionally managed audio visual services, some meals that were not included in the DoubleTree bill that were paid out separately out of the district, It actually included even the amount of meals for the Commodore's breakfast, which was not included because people just go up to the cash register and paid for that. So there was several $1,000s in value added things that came more from the Q Center, less from Oakland Resort, and using both based on the DoubleTree Lyle as the baseline. If that answered the question.
So what I'm hearing is we should expect this to cost us around $15,000.
It does not really cost $15,000 because that amount, nor has it in the past, because that $14,000 or $15,000 amount that we've seen in the past is the amount of the check that the DSOFN writes to the venue, but he also collects registration fees and he collects meal fees from the membership. So I would venture to say, and John, if you can tell me if you're in agreement on this, the ultimate cost to the district is substantially less than $15,000.
Correct. So looking at the summary email that I sent up, some of the numbers in here is I'm estimating that the 9th district, the Cleveland budget will save about $1,000 on auxiliary orders when looking at hotel room costs and per diem costs for travel there, plus additional savings off the orders for their own employees. For 9th Western, since we only give per diem, it's about $400 in savings off orders, just by changing what county we're in. Expenditures. So room fees would be about, I'm going through this. Overall, it would be about $5,000. We have $1,400 in savings for not doing the coffee and donuts stuff on Saturday morning because they're going to include that in the price. They're going to buy half of the drink tickets for us. So overall, trying to read through a long email here and pull out parts of it. And we're looking at them taking over registration as well. So yeah, overall, we're saving a decent amount of money. When we look at the registration fee from our attendees, it's a net gain for us.
Will the draft contracts that we will sign have this information in it such that, right, I think in the what you all have had has just been proposals or estimates. Will we have like final numbers in the draft contracts?
Well,
there can't be final numbers in a draft contract because we don't, I mean, it'll be the final number per person and so forth, but we won't know the count until we get the bill and after the event happens. So in other words, are we going to be able to get a bill that says $14,000 that would mirror the DoubleTree bill from March? That's based on 150 people attending and selecting certain meals and so forth. Okay. All we're going to get in a contract is going to be how much each meal will cost, how much each room will cost, how much the setup of the meeting spaces and what they're going to provide the meeting spaces as far as AV equipment, office space. There's a free space for the district store. But that's what it's going to say in the contract. But it's my opinion, and John, tell me if I'm wrong here. You're not going to see a finite dollar amount because it's going to be a template or a menu based on how many people register and attend the event.
Correct. Our contract with Lyle that we're under right now just says that the price of the hotel room will be the price that the government allows them to pay, and the setup charges for the room and our minimum expenses, but it doesn't outline what our meals cost or anything else. All of that's negotiated and planned out after the contract. With the Q Center, they are telling us that our meals will be, for most of our meals, will be what the government per diem rate is. Saturday night dinner, we're opting for a more expensive option. And then we'll have a small credit card fee using their system. But so we'll actually have more numbers in the Q Center contract than we have in our current Lyle contract.
So I think, Jen, are you just asking for what those numbers look like for this next year as we move forward into the contracting phase?
Yeah, I mean, particularly coming off the fact that we literally just canceled a D train. I mean, I think it's worth the conversation of long-term financially making sure that it makes sense to have 2 D trains, but it's hard to project that if you don't have some sort of ballpark, what's the final cost going to look like? So if you're saying we just show up and they bill us after the fact, I mean, it seems to me an unusual way to hold this kind of, I guess I'm not hearing the answer to my question. If that answer isn't out there, then the answer isn't out there.
I guess I'd have to ask, what would you suggest it should say? I mean, because with the venue not knowing whether 50 people are going to show up or 250 people are going to show up, they certainly couldn't tell us that it's going to cost us $14,000. And then 300 people showed up based on the previous estimate of 150. Nor would they be right in charging us $14,000 if only 50 people show up for the event.
Is there just a price sheet somewhere that lists out what everything costs for the Q Center? We can just do the math on our own. I think that would be the easiest for me, is to just go in, plug the numbers in myself at this point.
So the committee did do that, and we provided that information to the Commodore prior to him making his decision.
So I believe the only like the static number we have from Q is their setup fee. So
as well as the meals.
Well, yes, but but to your point, the meals will ultimately be that's a variable based on how many people we have sign up, and then that number will be recouped by the folks paying for their meals. But the room rental fee, what is the total for that? That was
it was 5,000. Let me go back to that email. According to this email here, $5,440.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. I couldn't recall the exact number. So, Jen, our registration fees that we collect will go towards that cost. And we're not going to have to. There's not going to be the full, or there's not going to be the additional expenses on top of that. I think it was roughly $1,800 that we spent for the Saturday refreshments, and then the additional money that we spent towards the hospitality suite. So the registration fee from the Q Center will be dedicated essentially to that room rental fee.
Okay, thank you, Commodore.
And half the bar tickets is the other expense we have.
And some of the bar tickets that they'll be giving, 2-for-1 essentially special on.
Yep.
If I can suggest this, based on what March of 2023 cost us, if we had the exact same number of attendees, we wrote a check for, I think, $14,100 roughly to the DoubleTree. And of course, a lot of that was paid for by members. Given everything the same, this would be approximately, that's going to be $150 more per conference next year, because that's what the DoubleTree increased. From the Q Center, that same check for those services plus a number of additional services would still be less than 15,000, around 14,900 for everything being the same. Maybe that helps answer it.
Well, and just to be clear, that's what the DoubleTree increased for room rental rates. We haven't seen what the food prices are yet from DoubleTree for next year, whereas the Q Center is saying they'll do it at per diem rates.
That's true. That's next year's Q Center food versus this year's DoubleTree food rates.
Scott's got his hand up.
Yep. Scott.
Yeah, for those of us who haven't been involved in that, where is the Q Center?
Q Center is in St. Charles, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
North of St. Charles, between St. Charles and Elgin along the river.
Okay, I'm familiar with that area. Thank you.
Yeah, it's right along Illinois Route 25 between I-90 and I-88.
Yep.
And Scott, I believe in the report that they dropped a link to the center, and they've got videos and everything else that you can watch. I think just to kind of circle back and just get to Jen's question, I don't think she's asking for what's the comparison between the three. I think it's all right now that we've decided, great, but what does that what do those financial terms look like for the Q Center for 2024? And then, I think I received a text from another division commander asking, is it going to be a 1-year contract or multi-year contract? I think just literally sharing the draft contract with the district board, I think would answer a lot of these go forward questions.
So the contract that was recommended was that it's a 1-year term. And then, as we've done traditionally at Lyle, we've signed 2-year contracts as each Commodore gets elected. So 1-year contract for Commodore Thatch's second year, and then each incoming Commodore will sign their own contract.
And can't we just make the draft contract available to the board?
I have no problem with that. It's not, it would be posted. It wouldn't be in the context of a meeting.
I think that's sufficient, Commodore. It doesn't need to be a special meeting, just something that people can look at.
Yeah.
Commodore, as you mentioned,
Go ahead, Tom.
I'm sorry, as you mentioned too, the contract will have to pass legal. Number one, and number two, this is not a voting item. This is then it's signed by you. Am I correct?
Yes, it'll be signed by me, but I have no problem
sharing it.
Oh, I have no problem. I believe in transparency.
Did you want to touch briefly on the dates just while we're on the D-Train in hopes of alleviating the problem that we're experiencing today with not being in person?
Well, before we share dates, have we confirmed that the Q Center is good with the dates we talked about? I don't want people to write the wrong dates on their calendar, and if we do have to move it later.
So, Commodore, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and share the dates?
So for April, let me pull up my phone here, my calendar. We're looking at the first weekend in April, so that would be April 5th, 6th, and 7th. And we're into March, we're out of March in light of N-Train's new permanent date in March. And the other two regions in District 9 have their contracts already signed for the other in March. So we're looking at that first weekend in April. And then for the fall, we're looking to get out of September and get into the fiscal year for 2024.
Get out of October, you meant?
Yes, I'm sorry. We're looking to get out of October into the other fiscal year to hopefully prevent these types of issues in the future. So there are 2 weekends that we were looking at. September 13th through the 15th and the 27th through the 29th. There's one issue with the first weekend in September, the 13th through the 15th, there may be another event there that ties up some of their spaces, their huge banquet space, for example. So we're looking at what the options are for that last weekend in September. But those are essentially the dates we're looking for. We don't have, like I said, we don't have a contract yet in black and white on paper, but those dates, those weeks are available according to the Q Center with that
And they're all
caveat.
reserved at the moment for us.
Yeah, they're on hold for us pending, essentially, I guess you can say like a final decision from us. Todd, I saw that you had unmuted yourself there a couple minutes ago. I just wanted to double check and see if you had anything to say or if you're good.
Yes, thank you, Commodore. I just was going to share that we spent about $11,000 for attendees that aren't under orders and the facility. And I would wonder, Tim and his committee, who I assume hasn't met recently because I haven't been invited, have a total estimate. I give them numbers from a previous event to kind of tie in some tighter numbers. I know the board was interested in that. So yeah, I'm offering two things. Do you need a number for them to use for their estimate? And does it fall into our $11,000 expense once we look at the location and who is a mandatory attendee who's not under orders?
So the number that we used, Todd, was what you had previously provided us with. And you had also indicated was kind of an informal detrained budget. And that was at $14,100 and some dollars that was written to the DoubleTree in March, and you had given us preceding ones prior to that. Now the question that when we understood the fact that for the purposes of comparing venues, that not all of that was actually absorbed by the district because, again, as we said, all or nearly all of the meals are somehow reimbursed to the district, either by people who receive per diem for meals or people who simply self-pay for meals. So that was kind of put out of the equation. And then we had to add in other things like the meals that were provided, like the Saturday morning meet and greet, and the money that was spent in the hospitality suite and so forth was put together. So those are the numbers that we operated with when you were early on in attendance at the committee. And to answer your question, no, the committee's work here was done. I don't know if you were in attendance at the last meeting, but it's been quite some time and has shifted now more towards working with the D-Train committee on logistics and so forth of dates and verifying how many rooms and what time the rooms and so forth would be required and how many people would be in attendance at each one. That's how it shifted. But we had submitted the recommendation for Q Center to the Commodore. I'm going to say maybe more than a month ago, possibly 6 weeks ago.
Well, thank you, Tim, for that. And I know I missed a meeting or two to go to teach firefighting. I will share my professional observation is it wouldn't hurt to try something.
You mean as far as this venue?
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what it is. We've changed venues before, in some districts, from what I understand from my fellow Commodores, they change a lot more frequently. So it's the nature of the beast. We, just like car insurance, you have to sometimes look elsewhere to get a better deal. But it's a short-term 1-year contract. We'll see how it goes. And if it doesn't go well, we can certainly look somewhere else. But we're already at we're getting a little over. So I just want to kind of wrap this agenda item up, if I may. I will disseminate to the district board the draft contract once it is received and reviewed by legal. But again, the D-Train location committee is officially stood down, with my thanks. Moving to new business, the publications policy that was sent out over the summer. Discussion amongst the division commanders were encouraged. Any suggestions for revisions were asked, none were received. So at this point, I will ask for a motion to approve the publications policy as submitted over the summer.
Commodore, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by John McDonald, seconded by Commodore Randall. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the publications policy is adopted. Moving along to the President's Lifetime Award. Several members had asked about this, so I asked our district awards chair, Gary Markle, to do a little bit of research into this. Gary, I believe you're on the call.
Yes, Commodore, I'm here.
Okay, if you can just kind of give an update as to what you were able to discover for the process, the registration, and any cost that is associated with this award. And just, I guess, generally speaking, of course, what the award is, a brief synopsis.
Oh gosh. Commodore, would you mind, I'm having problems with my notes. Could I need a minute to pull them up?
Sure thing.
Sure, I'm also having problems with my video right now. So for those, some of you may have seen the award when we we awarded them probably 5 or 6 years ago now. It's the AmeriCorps President's Volunteer Service Award. And they are sponsored by a pseudo-government organization called the 1,000 Points of Light. But they are co-sponsored through the White House, and the awards have multiple tiers and recognize volunteerisms by Americans on a number of different levels. And they require that volunteer service be done in a certain number of hours, be done for a certified 501c3 charity and so forth, and being in the auxiliary, we squarely check all of those boxes. They have different levels of service, silver, gold, and then a President's Lifetime Achievement Award. And that Lifetime Achievement Award, the highest award, is what we would be looking at, recognizing our members as we did before. And that achievement award is given out for 4,000 hours of volunteer service. And one of the other stipulations of the program is those hours need to be documented. Again, with Aux Data, we squarely check the box on that, and Aux Data becomes the foundation of documentation for that award. So we would be looking at recognizing our members that hit that 4,000 hour mark. And the cost is $10.50 plus shipping. So if we do this in bulk, that's going to work out to be about $12 per member. And we would be asking for flotillas to pick up, Commodore, I believe, that fee. And one of the stipulations of the program is that the organization needs to pick up the fee. We can't charge them back to individual members. It's something that the organization needs to support, recognize members, and pay for out of general funds. So that's the essence of it. The award package comes with a really nice certificate, and then the $10.50 one is the maximum package. It comes with a certificate that's signed by the president, and then it also has a very attractive medal that's enameled in multiple different colors. Hey, Russ, thank you.
Yep.
That would be the medal. So in addition to the certificate, everyone who's awarded that would get that same medal that Russ is sharing right now. Or it's a coin. You could also put it in a coin holder if you like.
Thank you, Gary, and I believe you've already registered us. So at this point, it'll be up to the divisions whether to fully reinstitute this program.
Exactly.
Gary.
Mm-hmm.
One clarifying point I'd like to make. I remember from the original program 5, 6, 7 years ago, the point you made earlier about the cost coming from the organization to the entity that's awarding the certificate and the coin. It has to be a single point of contact. So in other words, the auxiliary Ninth Western would write the check to this organization for X number of members, and then that would trigger the generation of certificates and the coins. But there was also a reimbursement process that happened between the district and I believe at the time the division. So the divisions would effectively pick up the cost for their members, not the flotilla. Am I correct on that?
I recall that was or at least in my area, that ended up getting flowed down to the flotillas.
Okay.
Commodore, my understanding it was division.
But we could do it however we want. Yeah. In reality, I would be paying the bill personally, and I would be asking the division for reimbursement. So however the board chooses to work that out is fine with me, as long as I get reimbursed by the district.
Oh.
Would that not be the district making the payment as we did in the past, and then whatever cognizant units have subscribed to it, they would then reimburse the district?
Well, the district would be making the payment, but the actual check would come from me first because I'm the one placing the order.
Well, obviously you're going to get reimbursed right away, and
Right.
that'll be out of district funds. The question is to the board, is the board willing to commit to reimbursing is each division willing to commit to reimbursing the district for that cost? And then if they so choose to flow that down to the flotillas, so be it. That could be an individual division decision.
Yes, that is the perfect way to frame that, which is why it's at this level, at the district level, and the division commanders are being asked to vote on this program, essentially vote to, reinstitute this award option for your members and to reimburse the cost as laid out by Gary. And how you choose to deal with that in your own division is your prerogative if it comes out of division funds or if you seek reimbursement or contribution from the flotilla. Mr. Zajac.
Gary, do you have an idea on average a year how many members in the district would be awarded this? I mean, obviously I know, but do you have a rough idea?
It would be, it's gonna, at this point, we had a big surge when we did this originally, but my estimation, I haven't done the actual calculation. We should be under 50 to get caught up, and then annual, it's probably like 10 or 15 individuals.
And you said it was $10 for the certificate and coin plus an additional whatever the shipping cost would be, correct?
Yes, I think $12 is a good budgetary number per member, and the number of members per division is going to vary, and it's going to depend on individual activity.
And is this thought of placing this order once a year?
Yes, exactly. We do it once a year with a plan to present these to members at the spring D train.
Okay, so if we're going to order them once a year, right? You had mentioned before that would probably save significantly on the shipping, I'm assuming.
Exactly, on the shipping, and then the subsequent distribution, we wouldn't have to mail them out again. We would just distribute them at the D train.
Okay, Commodore, I'm curious as your thought. If the divisions maybe pick up the tab for the award, but what about the district picking up the tab for the shipping costs? You know, because it is $4,000. That's a significant amount. Not to say that the members won't be ungrateful, but I think maybe the district could afford $1 or $2. No, make it a nice even $10 even per member. That's way it's pretty easy to understand financially for the divisions. And then since it's all going to be in a bulk order anyways, that would be pretty easy, I would imagine, at the financial level to figure out for the district. No?
Well, it depends. I mean, the budget that we have for this year is balanced to the nickel. And the district is not an income generating unit, unlike the divisions and the flotillas. We can't put on a PE class and charge for that. So that's a long way of saying I cannot speak to that exactly at this point. I cannot commit the district to that. It has not been the case in the past when this program has been operational. The district budget for next year will begin. That process will begin in earnest in probably December, and of course we'll present that budget for adoption to the district board in January at the meeting then. So depending on where we are, also with Q Center, I just need a little bit more information before I can commit to that. But this, just to also clarify, this award being reinstituted or given out, awarded here in the district was at the behest of the divisions. So this is coming up from you all, so groundswell from the divisions and the flotillas. It wasn't initiated at the district level.
Okay, thank you.
So Gary, can I just put some numbers? So we're talking 50-ish people at $12 a pop. We're only talking about $600 here for this year.
Yeah,
it was a rough guesstimate.
Yeah, and I'm looking at our awards right now, and 4,000 hours that we're looking at awarding is oddly enough a huge pivot point for our members. So we have 25 members that are kind of at that level, and then when you go up another 750 hours, it drops down to 12. So it's kind of a plateau. So I would expect kind of annually we're less than 20 members who'd be recognized like that.
And do you have the records from Dave that shows what he already got?
I do.
Okay. Based on what we're saving by not spending travel money this weekend, I wouldn't have a problem if the district committed today to pay for that backlog, and then we have time to talk with our respective divisions and discussed before the January budget for what to do about the annual additions. So I guess I'll make a motion to budget $1,000 to get through the backlog.
$1,000, to clarify that, $1,000 out of the 2023 budget that's already been approved, or 2024?
Out of the 2023, the money we're saving from this weekend.
Okay.
All right, so there is a motion that's been made. Is there a second?
Secondary.
Seconded by Tim Derry. Is there further discussion on this?
Do we have a final, what that final number would be? Is it $1,000?
Well, he's estimating around 600-ish, so I'm just giving some elbow room.
My plan has been to calculate the final number when I do the annual awards at the end of the year.
Well, question, Gary, do you intend to incur this cost this year or in 2024?
In 2024.
So then is it really necessary to allocate any money from this year's budget?
The motion, I think, was to allocate money for the backlog of members since the award was discontinued, because people received it 5, 6, 7 years ago, and then it stopped. And so we have a cadre of members from that point when it stopped until today that are deserving of the award. And that's where Gary indicated there's probably 50 members at $12 a piece.
Right.
And
I understand, but I just heard Gary say he will not incur any cost to that to satisfy that requirement until 2024.
I can do whatever the board likes. If you'd like me to do the catch up now, I can do that. And then if whoever gets their hours in by the end of the year, if there's 1 or 2 or 3 other folks, we can do that again in after the end of the year.
John, was that your intent? Was that we would catch up to people, close that gap right away?
Yeah, that was my thought, is catch up this year and then
and then start fresh in 2024?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Excuse me, as DSOFN, I will tell you that we have money that we don't have when we do in-person detrain. To fund that, it would just take board approval.
John
So-
Saran?
I made this point before. I'm in support of doing this. I think it's valuable. I just want to reiterate that I think there's like maybe 2 or 3 unit commanders out there in this entire district that are actually writing awards for their members. And I suggest, and I hope that more do so going into this next D-train. I'm happy we're focused on this one, but there seems to be the same 1, 2 folks running awards for everyone, and flotilla commanders, you can do it. Division commanders, you can do it. DCAPs, you can do it. So I just urge you guys to do so.
All right, Joshua, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, to John's point, the money we do have an extra, or because we're not having the in-person D train, that we can allocate some of that money to pay for this backlog of awards. Is that true? And that won't put the district budget in the red?
Yeah, the budget we had for local travel orders was over $8,000.
Okay.
I closed
So
it.
we can take some of that money and use it towards this and still not be in the red on the district budget. Is that correct?
That's my understanding from Todd. Yes.
Todd, is that correct?
Yes, I can confirm that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So the motion that's on the floor is to have the district cover the full cost, the generation for the certificate and challenge coin, as well as the shipping for those eligible members who have not received the award since it was last issued in 2016. That does not impact 2024 and forward, correct? Those that would be that will become eligible in the future. That has not been decided on based on this motion. Is that my understanding?
Correct, but it gives us a few months to have those conversations
Yeah.
before we talk about the budget in January.
Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion?
And is it implicit in this motion that we are re-engaging with this program as a long-term thing?
My understanding is where there's no long-term implications in this vote that's currently pending.
So
We're
we
gonna
have to, so we'll have to take another vote in 2024 to decide to do it again.
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate today to speak for all how the division's gonna vote in January. But, you know, I do think we should long-term. I just think that, you know, the 8 of us need to have those conversations with our divisions and possibly flotillas before officially saying that.
Well, I agree. My concern though is if we establish, or if we close this backlog gap and get these people awarded, and then in 2024, for some unknown reason, we decide we don't want to participate in this program anymore, you will now have a whole new generation of members who will be disappointed. In fact, that's the sentiment I've heard in the last few months or even longer. Once it became known that this program was reestablished by the 1,000 Points of Light organization, they wanted to participate in the program. So I think maybe there's 2 questions on the table. Question number 1, do we re-engage and participate with this program going forward? Work out the details perhaps of how, you know, who pays for what and what have you at a later date. And then the second question on the table is, can we do a one-time catch up the backlog as Gary has offered to do? But I would strongly suggest we address both questions today and not run the risk of starting again and stopping again. That's my concern.
And if I may, to underscore Commodore Randall's point, because these awards must be funded and supported by an organization, there is no avenue for an individual member to go get one after the fact if they decided, you know, they wanted to pursue one of these, if we decide to stop. So it's really upon us to support this or not to do it.
Right. And the only reason we stopped last time was because the organization that sponsored the award stopped. Now they've restarted. So I don't know the history there or what the reasons were. Maybe it was some
The prior administration,
political
I
thing. Yeah,
believe they weren't supporting it.
right.
Todd, we can't hear you. Still.
I'm sorry. Wasn't that important? Never mind.
Oh, now we can hear you. Okay, now we can. All right. Maybe we can also use the chat. I don't, depending on how long it is. John Saran, I think I saw your hand up first, and then going back to Josh.
Josh was first. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So we still have Commodore Randall's point. We still have John's motion on the floor, so we have to take care of that. I'm kind of with John with let the division commanders bring this back to their flotillas and let them discuss it for the next couple months here, and then we can bring this up again. Are we going to have a meeting in December for the budget?
No, the budget meeting will be in January.
Okay, so let's bring it up then my suggestion would be to bring it up in January while it's still the beginning of the year. And then that way you've got the entire 2024 to figure this out if you want to continue it on, which I don't think it would be that big of a deal, Commodore, because as Gary stated, he's looking at an average of what, 10 to 15 people a year. And since we're not having the in-person D train, right, we're taking that money from, those funds to cover the backlog. So that's a big chunk. But as far as supporting John's motion, I think we need to, either table it or vote on it right now. So.
Well, yeah, we're still in the discussion period, so it is possible that John's motion could be amended before final vote. So we'll get through the discussion here and see if that motion remains intact or if it's amended. Yeah, John, and then Tim.
Yeah, so I'm in favor of what Josh suggested about, taking the continued nature of this back to the units for discussion and then vote on it in January. I also think we should put this to our DNACO to see how if the national, folks have dealt with this. I mean, if this is a, national organization, I would think our national organization should be dealing with them directly, and I'm sure this problem or this issue is not unique to our district and may be more easily handled by our national organization.
Well, I can certainly brief him on it. See if they'll, want something else taken to national. All right, Tim.
Just two things. Number one, to follow Commodore Randall, I think that it was received very enthusiastically, and I'd like to see the backlog filled. But it concerns me when we talk about it's up to the division or up to the flotillas, because what's going to happen when a particular unit decides that they don't want to participate in it? Number one, it's technically kind of unfair. Number two, it is how are you going to communicate that to Gary that, oh, by the way, don't submit to anybody for the award for anybody from a certain unit. 4,000 hours is a significant achievement, and we're talking about potentially $12 a person. I realize that if a lot of people do it, but Gary's already given us, the worst case scenarios, 50 people to get caught up and maybe 10, 12 people a year. I think we need to figure out a way to move forward on this, because otherwise you're going to open up a whole lot of variables, and it's going to lead to unfairness where some members are going to serve their 4,000 hours and get it, and other ones are not.
And Tim, to your point, Gary said 10 to 15. I mean, what are we talking about? That's $120 to maybe $150 a year. So if the divisions by any chance can swing it, you tell me that the district can't swing that we can't find $150 somewhere in there. I'm not saying that the district should pick that up. If traditionally it went down to the divisions, let the divisions, but if there's one or two member in a division that the division's just so hard strung that they don't want to do it, Commodore, I'm sure you have some sort of discretionary funds that maybe you can, $10, $12, $20, whatever, to cover one or two person who put in 4,000 hours worth of volunteer service. So I digress.
Yeah.
Commodore Randall, do you recall how this was executed the first time? In other words, was it voted? Was it decided? Did the divisions decide? I want to say, I thought I remembered voting on it at a division level to accept it, and then it came out of division funding, but I don't, again, it was 7 years ago, so.
Yeah, I recall it being brought to the district's attention, and the district voted to institutionalize the program with basically the awards chair providing the administrative support, and the district financially taking care of the acquisition of the awards, but the divisions in turn, each division in turn agreed to reimburse the reimburse the district on those initial costs. That's what I recall. I recall that as a action taken by the district board.
And I mean, that would be, for what it's worth, for what, you know, what my one opinion is worth, I would prefer to reinstitute the program as it was previously. And again, you know, the district covers, you know, essentially district level awards, auxiliaries of the year, different plaques, things like that comes out of our district awards line item in the budget. But you know, this isn't an auxiliary or a Coast Guard specific award, and it's not a district specific award. And the reason or the questions for this were, like I said, it was a groundswell coming from units or in individuals of specific units.
Yes.
So I'm a little surprised that there seems to be some pushback. I can understand maybe a division commander not wanting to necessarily commit their division, but I don't understand the pushback that the divisions themselves don't foresee being able to cover this award for the members that they're asking the award to be issued for.
Yeah, and I agree, Commodore. I think as a matter of technicality, you know, I think we've kind of come a long ways in recent years. Maybe back then, the way it was done was not technically correct. This body, this board, does not have the power to edict to the divisions what they can and cannot do with their money, even if it's $10. It doesn't matter. You know, we don't have the authority to tell a division what to do with their funds. So, you know, with that in mind, I guess what we're saying here is I think we're all in agreement that, you know, it does make sense. It's a great award. We'd love to see our members get it, but there probably is an argument to be made that the division boards should vote on this before, you know, the district takes a position. If that's how we want to handle it. The other way we can handle it is we can flat out say, right now, this is a district expense, and the district will own it, and we will assure that people get the award who are entitled to it, and we won't look for a reimbursement from anybody. That's the other option that we have. Of course, that's a budget. That's the budget consideration, which, in my mind, is a decision that should be made leading up to the January meeting where we present the budget for approval.
All right, so I have Craig's here, and then I do want to kind of wrap up this discussion, or else we could be here all day.
That's my point of parliamentary procedure. Could you please read the motion again?
Mr. Barker, do you?
Yeah, so I have it as have the district cover the full cost, including shipping, of the President's Lifetime Volunteer Service Award for those eligible members that have not received the award since it was last issued in 2016.
Okay.
Is there a timing on that?
Point of procedure, is the discussion we've been having germane to that motion?
I would say so, yes. It's germane to that motion, whether that motion will be amended to cover a longer period of time or less of the you know, one portion of that dual expense shipping and production. So I think it is germane.
Okay, I would move that we amend the motion to carry this program forward at the district level.
So just to weigh in, Chris, I think I had $1,000 cap on it for this year.
Yes, you did. Sorry about that.
Yep. And then I'm fine updating my motion to reflect what Craig's asking, that we continue it forward. Obviously, I can't put a budget on that because we can't do that till January. But in the interest of restarting the program, we take this first step.
So the amended motion that I'm hearing is for the district to cover, well, one, for us to essentially re-adopt this program as an award that the district will facilitate, and the district will cover the costs of the roughly 50 people or so that have not received it and that are currently eligible to. But us continuing this at the district level does not commit funding for 2024. That will be a separate issue. We'll have the program, but it will be a separate action of the board as to what the financials of that will look like. Is that correct?
Well, rolled into the budget in January.
Yeah. Craig, am I on the same page as you and John? Okay. All right.
Wasn't Tim the second?
I was.
Tim, does
So-
that comport with you?
So we're committing to the program. The only thing that's still open is to somehow dovetail it into the budget after January 1st for the ongoing part of it. In other words, we're committing to the 50 previous members and we're committing to the program, but we have to review the budget for January. I'm not sure how that's going to affect it, because if the budget doesn't accommodate it, then we would have to somehow back out of the program. But is that what I'm understanding that we're saying now?
Well, yes, but there wouldn't necessarily be a backing out of the program if the budget didn't shake out. It simply would be us not submitting it.
Okay.
You only accrue a cost when you submit for the award.
Right.
So.
Yeah, my second is stands.
Okay.
But it would also allow for us, for the divisions to think about this prior to the budget discussion, so that at least we would know what their level of participation is agreed to at the point at which we facilitate the program starting in 2024 and going forward.
Yes, my ask to the divisions is to go back now that you've been briefed on the program, what the costs are. Go back to your divisions and speak to your flotilla commanders. See how, if this is something that you can support financially, whether the full amount, the cost of production and shipping, so the roughly $12, or one of that, the production cost, which is I believe about $10.50. Or if you have the recommendation, the position that the district board should roll the full cost of those awards or a portion of that award into our annual budget. That's essentially your homework between now and January. But for the purposes of the vote and immediate action, it will be us agreeing to pay for those 50 or so members. So one last time for clarity's sake, Chris, can you read the proposed amended motion?
Yeah, so I just pasted it in the chat as well for the benefit of those in Zoom, and I'll read it as well. So the amended motion is to have the district cover the full costs, including shipping, of the President's Lifetime Volunteer Service Award for those eligible members that have not received the award since it was last issued in 2016. The cost should not exceed $1,000. The program should continue forward as a district facilitated award.
All right,
I like the word facilitated, because we're not really saying that it will be a district funded award. That decision can be deferred until January.
Yes. Okay. Exactly. All right. So procedurally, I need a vote on this amendment. that was made by Craig Feldy and seconded by Tim Derry. All in favor of this amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Wrong button. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, hearing none, the motion is amended. Now for final passage on the motion that was, so John, this is how your motion now appears. You remain as the primary movement, correct?
Yes,
Is there a second?
Secondary.
Tim, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. So now for final passage of this of the motion as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the amended motion is agreed to. Okay. Thank you. We are at the end of my agenda items. Is there any other new business from a board member?
Commodore, I just wanted to make an announcement regarding the Wolves game. I don't know if should
Sure.
we do that now or wait till later?
Well, actually, there'll be a time for kind of like last minute comments. I guess let's put that there. If there's any like business or things for the board to consider, this is the time.
Very good.
Commodore, do you want to talk about the speech parameters?
Yes, now's a good time for that. Yes.
Okay. So earlier in the year, the district XCOM talked about processes for contested elections, given last year's experience. And we decided just through general, procedural oversight power that the Commodore has, the Commodore can improve things such as like a speech that could be requested by either candidate, and also subject to certain parameters that myself, along with Craig Feldy, came up with that could be used to have just a short, 2-minute speech given by a candidate. And then there's a few other parameters on sort of what that might look like. But that would be a way for candidates to, right before an initial vote and then any sort of supplemental votes that are needed, provide comments that might help the board, determine who's the best candidate for the future.
Craig,
So
did you
in
have
fact,
anything?
there's nothing to vote on. It's just an awareness of that procedural option for the elections that are coming down next year.
And if anybody has any questions on it, we would be able to furnish a list of what the parameters are you could speak of, like, for example, you can't talk about your opponent, something like that.
Scott?
Yeah, I was just wondering, for something like that, wouldn't that have to go into at least an amendment to the standing rules?
No, I don't think so. I think that's in my inherent authority as a presiding officer and to set the agenda.
Yeah, Commodore, and some of the other districts that I've visited through D-Trains, it's actually pretty common that even just in the general election process, contested or otherwise, that the candidates go through a speech process in front of the board before the election is even held.
Yeah, that's how it is at national with the candidates running for DNACO and VNACO. So I told the XCOM when this was discussed, and I'll tell it to the entire district board. I have no problem offering floor time to folks in a contested election, or if someone, you know, has a question of a unchallenged, you know, candidate, if you will. So yeah, so I gave the commitment, once the time comes next year and we have all the district offices up for election, you know, it certainly makes sense to have time for folks to, you know, essentially make a speech and say why they're the best person for the job. So that doesn't need a vote or to amend or set aside the standing rules. That's just me building the agenda and setting aside some time for it, which I have no problem to do. Okay, any other new business? All right, so at this point, I will just open it up for any last minute comments from anyone. Joshua, go ahead with the Wolves game.
Okay, so Commodore Mullally kind of set this up about the Wolves game. I think it was put out in various emails and whatnot. So since we're not having the in-person D train tomorrow, that event is still going on. So Commodore Mullally is doing a color guard, and his team will be there presenting colors for the opening ceremony at the Chicago Wolves. It's a minor league hockey game. They're going to be playing at the Allstate Arena in Rosemont. The game starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow. I do have a few extra
televised game.
Yes, it is a televised game. I do have a few extra tickets. So if Commanders, if you're in the Chicagoland area, or even those folks in the Milwaukee area, whoever is interested, before we get out of here, I'll type my name in the chat box. Have either you or your members contact me, and we'll make sure that, you know, I'll get them the information. So for those of you who have said that you are going to come to the game and either paid or haven't paid or whatnot, so I sent out an email, and I think John, Sharon, you pass that off to Commodore, but if anyone needs that, again, you just reach out to me. The tickets are Commodore Mullally and myself. We purchased the tickets in a block, so they're not going to be at the will call office. You have to enter at the North VIP Suites entrance, and I will be there in the vestibule along with another Chicago Wolves representative. And basically, I'll check off your name, and you're good to go. Craig and Terry, I don't know if folks from MSU Chicago, active duty folks are coming, or Harvey or Commodore. If you have folks from sector, they're coming, but kind of pass along that information that they have to enter at the North VIP Suite entrance. They won't be at will call office. They won't be at the South Gate or anything like that. So I plan to be there from 6 to 6:45. And then after 6:45, I'm going to go take my seat. So if anyone is going to show up late after that, they need to contact me so I can meet them at the front door so I can give them a ticket. Because Commodore Mullally is going to be tied up doing colors and all that and getting set up. So I plan to get there at 5 o'clock when Commodore Mullally is going to get there to help him out and whatnot. So, but yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. There are a few extra tickets. They're $20 each. As Commodore Thatch mentioned, this is going to be a televised game. It'll be over the air locally in Chicago on Channel 50. I don't know if they broadcast it in Milwaukee or not, but they're playing the Admirals. So that's a Milwaukee team. As I mentioned, Commodore Mullally will do the color guard. I believe, John Sarin, you're going to be there as a PA representative. I think some of the Chicago Coast Guard recruiting office is going to have a table set up over there. So it's going to be a good event for fellowship and a good way to showcase, you know, not only the auxiliary, but the Coast Guard as well. So, yeah, and that's it. Thank you, Commodore.
And there's going to be, like, you know, thanks to the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard auxiliary and all of that. So it'll be a good event for all.
Yeah,
hey, Josh, is there a uniform of the day for this, or are we just going in civilian clothes?
It's civilian clothes unless you're on the color guard detail, then your service dress blues. But I'm sure if that applies to you, you already know that. If not, No, don't come up in service dress blues or trops or ODUs or anything like that. However, we are encouraging you to wear any Coast Guard, morale wear, be it your local flotilla, division, district, U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary, any sort of, Coast Guard morale wear, we ask you to support because, we purchased a group of 75 tickets. They put us in section 105, and from what Tom indicates, we're going to be pretty close up on the glass. I have no doubt that they're going to pan the camera over at us once or twice during the game. So if they're going to see a sea of, blue in the seats, we're going to get noticed and recognized. So believe me, I'm a big Wolves fan. I want to wear my Wolves jersey that's got my name and number on the back, but I'm going to wear my Division 35, hoodie and whatnot. So to answer your question, no, there is no uniform, but it's encouraged that if you do show up, wear something that says Coast Guard on it. So, and one last thing, if you are planning on attending, like I said, the puck drops at 7, but I highly encourage you to get there, beforehand. The doors open 1 hour prior at 6 o'clock. So even if there's a long line to get in the main gate, you're VIP for that day. You just go to the VIP entrance and you won't have to worry about it. So unfortunately, you are on the hook to pay for your own parking and get up there. I think it's like $10 or maybe $15. So that part is unfortunately not covered. But yeah, and then I think with your ticket too, Commodore Mullally indicated they'll give you a little ticket or a coupon for a free hat once you get inside as well. So
And Josh, because
yes.
it's, because we're going to be representing the Coast Guard and the auxiliary, I mean, obviously we'll have to all be on our best behavior, but it also just use this as an opportunity to engage with folks, maybe it invites questions, conversations with folks on the stands and around, we'll sort of also be there to kind of loosely support our active duty recruiters, recruiting not just from, for the auxiliary, but also steering folks to their tables for them as well.
Absolutely. We're going to be ambassadors there. So if someone comes up and asks us about the Coast Guard, I'm sure we'll be able to, paint the Coast Guard in a good light as well. So one last thing that I did want to mention, this is a family friendly event. So it's just not exclusive to auxiliary members. As long as my son's baseball game gets canceled because of rain tomorrow, he's going to join me along with my other nephews. Bring your husbands, your wives, your children, grandchildren. It's family fun. If you've never been there, they have a nice pyrotechnic show in the beginning. So if anyone's ever been to any sort of minor league type of, games, they're really entertaining in good times. So, and that's it. Like I said, I'll put my name, email address, and cell phone number in the chat. And if you or any of your members have any questions, want to secure tickets, whatever, just go ahead and reach out to me and we'll get you that info. Thank you, Commodore.
Thank you. Any final comments from anyone else?
This is Todd Nitz. I'd like to use this opportunity to again say that we're looking for an ADSO FN with the hope that they might take DSO FN in 2025. Been a great job. It's been a blessing to me, but I'm ready to train and pass that to the next.
Thank you, Todd. Great. All right, hearing nothing else, thank you everyone for a fantastic board meeting, and again, your flexibility with the pivot, the training schedule with the Zoom links have been emailed. Please encourage your members to avail themselves of the training that is still taking place over the weekend. And with that, everyone have a good rest of your day. And thank you especially to Captain Glendie, Commander Dahl, Commander Tillman, Chief Johnson. Thank you for your support of Ninth Western. It's greatly appreciated.
Commodore, can you do a adjournment just for the record?
Oh, yes, thank you. There's
To close.
perfect. Is there a motion?
I'll
to-
second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right.